Welcome to Keentel Engineering. Today, we're covering data center EMT modeling and large load interconnection because the model is now part of the interconnection agreement. This is about how EMT model quality testing, hardware in the loop validation, and megawatt-scale testing de-risk large load interconnection, and why a bad model can stall gigawatts of load. Three numbers anchor this update. Over 400 gigawatts sit in ERCOT's large load interconnection queue. 3 validation stages carry a model from paper to proven, and 8 mitigation technologies are on the table for managing load fluctuation. This is synthesized from ERCOT's NOGRR 282 and PGRR 144, European TSO practice, and national laboratory testing. Server power supplies, double conversion, UPS, VFD-driven cooling, on-site battery storage, and StatCom. Electrically, a gigawatt AI campus behaves like an inverter-based resource operating in reverse. Consider the 2024 reconnection event, a routine 230 kilovolt feeder fault near a 1.5 gigawatt facility triggered repeated failed reclosure attempts because the facility's own controls judged the grid not stable enough to reconnect. Roughly 6 failed attempts followed. The root cause was coordinated control, protection, and grid interface behavior that had never been studied, modeled, or tested before energization. And the scale behind this is enormous. Over 400 gigawatts now sit in ERCOT's large load interconnection queue, mostly data centers at the 1 to 2 gigawatt scale. European TSOs report tens of gigawatts of new demand connection inquiries within a 2-year window, comparable to their entire existing peak load. If your EMT model is still handled later by the vendor, you're carrying schedule risk measured in quarters. In ERCOT, 2 rules define the machinery. NOGRR 282 defines ride-through performance itself, continued consumption through defined voltage bands with restoration within 2 seconds of recovery. PGRR 144 defines the process, a 69-question data survey, a model quality test framework, and 3 model checkpoints: pre-stability study, pre-quarterly assessment, and for large controllable loads, pre-energization as built reconciliation. Models get cross-validated across PSS/E, PSCAD, and TSAT, with PSS/E benchmarked against PSCAD as an explicit quality gate. European TSO practice tells a similar story. One Nordic TSO reports roughly 54 gigawatts of new demand inquiries against a 16 gigawatt national peak load. New demand grid codes there add low voltage and over voltage ride-through, phase jump response, and post-fault recovery requirements. Model acceptance is staged. The first model is due 6 months before interim notice, and energization ramps in 30 megawatt blocks, each released only after updated model validation. Generic UPS models are accepted only as a bridge. Vendor-specific real code models are the end state. Texas solar loss events in 2021 and 2022, 1.1 gigawatts and 1.7 gigawatts curtailed, occurred at facilities with studies that were completed but inadequate. Data center models inherit every one of those same vulnerabilities. 6 things separate a real model from a generic one: real code power supply and UPS behavior. A 100 megawatt step at the GPU may actually appear as a 120 megawatt transient with overshoot at the medium voltage bus. Control and communication latency. 1 extra millisecond can swing a facility from compliant to non-compliant. Impedance fidelity. Battery and lead impedance determine whether the DC bus truly decouples load transients. Correct measurement practice. A 20 millisecond filter masks fluctuations above roughly 8 Hz, so roughly 1 millisecond filtering is what's actually needed. Realistic load ramp profiles. A profile can be chosen to pass or fail a study, so only realistic AI training and inference ramps are defensible. And aggregation and functional description, documenting how thousands of racks and mitigation devices aggregate into the study model in the first place. Offline simulation alone isn't enough. Validation runs across 3 stages. Stage 1 is offline EMT and positive sequence modeling, PSCAD and PSS E, ride-through screening, phase jump response, and fluctuation mitigation sizing, but with controllers idealized so real latency stays invisible. Stage 2 is controller hardware in the loop, physical controllers, protection relays, and management systems connected to a real-time simulator, which exposes integration defects before commissioning ever happens. Stage 3 is the megawatt-scale grid simulator. Full power hardware validation, including 0 to full power ramps in 4 to 5 milliseconds, low voltage ride-through benchmarked against PSCAD, and frequency domain impedance scans. Think of validation as insurance priced in milliseconds. Every phenomenon caught on the bench is a commissioning delay or reclosure standoff that never happens in the field. 8 mitigation approaches, synthesized from industry EMT study results, and there's no universal winner. Grid-forming battery storage is mature and very fast, but efficiency drops at high ramp rates. Battery storage paired with active compensation is newer and moderate in speed, but performs well across both high and low ramp rates. An eStatCom alone is fast and highly efficient at high ramp rates, but weaker at low ramp rates. Pair it with grid-forming battery storage, though, and you get very fast response with high efficiency across both. Low-voltage double conversion UPS is very fast and very efficient at high ramp rates, but weaker at low ramp rates, unless paired with grid-forming battery storage, which makes it very efficient across both. Medium-voltage double conversion UPS, while relatively new, is very fast and very efficient across both. And GPU-level mitigation is emerging, but its maturity, speed, and efficiency are all still to be determined. 5 conclusions follow from that comparison. First, there's no universal winner. Grid-forming battery storage is efficient but weakest at high ramp rates, while double conversion approaches are very effective but pay for it in losses. Second, hybrid solutions dominate the balanced scorecard. An eStatCom paired with grid-forming battery storage combines second-scale speed with minute-scale depth. Third, grid limits are absolute megawatts, not per-unit figures. A 1,000-megawatt campus facing a 10-megawatt limit needs roughly 0.1% residual fluctuation, which forces the highest efficiency mitigation available. Fourth, active schemes live and die on latency. A 1 millisecond change can flip a pass into a fail. And fifth, GPU-level mitigation is coming but still unproven. Maturity, losses, and verified performance data all remain open questions. Here's Keentel's recommended playbook. 1. Engage the utilities modeling requirements before equipment selection. Real code model availability is now a procurement criterion. 2. Build the EMT model quality test into the schedule as critical path with checkpoints that mirror the ISO zone. 3. Run mitigation selection studies early against realistic profiles and absolute megawatt point of interconnection limits before layouts freeze. 4. Validate controllers with controller hardware in the loop testing before commissioning, covering protection coordination, communication protocols, islanding, and mode transitions. 5. Leverage once-per-family hardware benchmarking wherever the ISO accepts OEM environment validation. And 6. Plan for staged model acceptance, aligning energization blocks with model updates so the revenue ramp isn't held hostage to a queue. A few questions we hear often. Why do grid operators suddenly require EMT models for data centers? Because AI data centers behave like inverter-based resources, fast, nonlinear, and sensitive to weak grid conditions, and composite load models simply can't capture the ride-through or sub-cycle phenomena that EMT models can. What is a model quality test? It's a standardized flat start test plus a large load disturbance test that sweeps the full ride-through voltage envelope, run before a model ever enters system studies. What is a real code model, and why do TSOs insist on it? It embeds the manufacturer's actual controller code rather than generic library blocks because ramp shaping, overshoot, and DC bus dynamics are governed by proprietary logic that generic models simply miss. If a vendor says their PSCAD model is validated, should that be taken at face value? Ask what it was validated against. Initial vendor models frequently need multiple correction iterations before they match hardware in ride-through and impedance scan testing. And how sensitive are mitigation studies to modeling assumptions? Extremely. 1 millisecond of latency can flip a result from compliant to non-compliant, and a 20 millisecond filter can mask the very fluctuations a requirement is meant to target. Let's close out on why the model itself is now part of the Interconnection Agreement. Electrically, a gigawatt-scale AI campus behaves less like a traditional load and more like an inverter-based resource running in reverse. Fast, nonlinear, and sensitive to weak grid conditions. Generic models simply can't capture that. A 100 megawatt step at the GPU level can show up as a 120 megawatt transient at the medium voltage bus, and only real code manufacturer UPS models catch that overshoot reliably. In ERCOT, NOGRR 282, and PGRR 144 have made this concrete. Load has to restore to pre-disturbance levels within 2 seconds, and PSS/E, PSCAD, and TSAT models all have to agree at every review checkpoint. Getting there takes real validation, not just simulation. Offline EMT catches the electrical fundamentals, but hardware-in-the-loop testing is what exposes the defects offline models can't see. In one real project, it caught controller jittering during grid forming to grid following transitions that the OEM had originally denied until the bench evidence proved it. And precision matters enormously here. 1 millisecond of extra latency can flip a compliant design to non-compliant, which is why fluctuation limits are absolute megawatt numbers, not percentages, and mitigation technology has to scale with facility size. We've seen this discipline pay off directly. A 700 megawatt AI campus that front-loaded real code models and aggregation documentation cleared ERCOT's toughest checkpoint on first submission, avoiding a 1 to 2 quarter restudy. If your project needs EMT model development or hardware validation support, Keentel Engineering can help. Visit KeentelEngineering.com. Thanks for watching.